I know we have heavy hearts this morning. And let's just take a deep breath. Continuing to breathe into our hearts of love. Feel the strength, feel the wisdom, feel the power. We are called to be. We're called to be all that we are. And we say yes to that in this moment. To knowing, to knowing. And so it is. So it shall be. Amen. Amen. Today's message was inspired by a scripture that was quoted by Jesus in Matthew, verse 18, verse 20. And it says, "For where 2 or 3 are gathered together in my name, there am I in the midst of them." There am I in the midst of them. So, again, for those of you that might be here for the first time or new with us, our senior minister, Reverend Jennifer Holder, made her transition this past Tuesday after moving through an arduous journey with cancer. And in the midst of SEE, with all of its fullness and activity, in the midst of our busy lives, in the midst of this community that served as Jennifer's spiritual community, the news landed heavily in our hearts. And there was a perfection, I'm claiming, in when she passed this week. Jennifer loved SEE. And so here we were in the midst of this very vibrant energy of SEE. And so those of us that were in that experience were able to be in the energy of unity principles, to hear and to learn, and to deepen our understanding of what's really true in the midst of outer appearances. So that was a blessing. And the students that were here, that were maybe didn't know Reverend Jennifer or were not a part of this community, they really are a part. Of course, we know that. As soon as they come here, they're a part of us. But that were not actually a member of the community. It was so beautiful to watch them hold space as people just processed, needed to share what was on their heart. And another blessing was that there were several ministers here as teachers to support their students. And the blessing of all the volunteers that came to support the activities of the week and to support the spontaneous service that we had on Tuesday night. It was just so beautiful. And to me, though, the greatest blessing of this week was this community. I have been so touched, so blessed over the last 4 months to be a part of you. I've been touched by how you've moved through this journey with Reverend Jennifer and held your knowing of the truth of what you are. And it had me really reflect on what community really is. The definition of community is a feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, values, and goals. And there's a term that we learned in ministerial school in my theology class that's roots, comes from Greek, and it's called koinonia. And what that means is beloved community. Its biblical reference is taken from Acts 2, when the early Christians were gathering. In Acts 2, it talks about how the early Christians were devoted to the apostles' teachings and to the communion of breaking bread and being in prayer. They came together and had things in common. They gave to anyone as they had need. They broke bread in their homes and ate together with glad and sincere hearts, praising God and enjoying the favor of all the people. And that's what we now call church, especially around that eating part. We do that really well, don't we? Koinonios means a sharer, as to share with one another. It implies a spirit of generosity. When koinonia is present, the spirit of sharing and giving is tangible. You feel it. Beloved community, for whom 2 or 3 are gathered, there I am in the midst of you. In the midst is in the middle, in the heart of. The I am is in the midst. The I am nature, that is the truth of every single one of us, that is the heart and the very essence of this community. Can't you feel it right now? Don't you feel it? And that, my friends, that I am nature, the truth and the holding and the knowing of that is what is going to get us beyond just getting through this. What I see and what I hold with you is that as we move through this time, that it deepens us and it expands us more deeply in what we know as true, as infinite, as unchanging in the midst of outer circumstances. Folks, this is why we come here every week. As we say, this is when the rubber meets the road. This is when we put feet on our faith. Yeah. So that we know what's true. As I have worked in pastoral counseling and as a minister, going to visit people in the hospital, what my inherent wisdom has informed me to ask people is, what is true? I remember a dear one from my previous community was going in for very serious surgery. And I remember taking his hands and just looking at him in the face and saying, dear one, what's true? What's true? Because when we can navigate through what feels like difficult times in our life, being anchored in what's true beyond any outer appearance. So what is true? What is true, again, is the I am of our nature that never leaves, regardless of circumstance, that is always available, always present for us to pull upon, for us to gird in, to know, and to express with each other. The I am of our being is what has us know what we are and calls us forth. Not only in our individual lives, but also as a community. And so what came to my heart as I was thinking about this lesson this morning was to tell a few stories about Reverend Jennifer, about community. Maybe she might not want me to tell some stories about her. I'm going to tell some stories about her. I don't know if you know this, but I come from the same home community as Reverend Jennifer and Ogun, New World Unity Church down in Springfield, Virginia. And so I called the minister, Reverend Eileen Gore, who I've shared with you as my mentor and minister and friend, and said, "Can you give me some scoop on Jennifer? I want to hear." Because I said, I really would like to share with the Gaithersburg community how spiritual community expanded Jennifer and brought her to the place where she could be here and be your minister in the beautiful way that she did. And Eileen said, well, here's a story. So Eileen was the founding minister of New World Unity. And when you're planting those seeds of building a community, you usually have planning meetings with the steering team. And so the steering team was meeting at Eileen's basement. And it was about the third meeting, and Jennifer shows up with a friend, her friend Susan, that they taught with. They taught together at the middle school. And so that Jennifer kept coming, and no one knew that there was a musician in the midst until Susan let the cat out of the bag, and Jennifer was not happy. So, because there wasn't a musician lined up for this brand new community yet. And so reluctantly, Jennifer brought her guitar to one of the meetings, and she shared her voice. Needless to say, all were smitten. And so she said, all right, I'll share one song only because I am not a performer. And so one song led to many songs. Jennifer became the official music director of New World Unity. And what's so beautiful as a memory for me that I participated in with Jennifer and Ogun was what they created together, what they co-created together from their expression of the music. Because see, Jennifer, as she stepped in one song at a time, the community kept calling it forth, just kept affirming her and saying, come on, honey, give us more. We love it. It's beautiful. Come on. And so what Jennifer and Ogun, Ogun's a music therapist, Jennifer's a music therapist, they started creating these workshops called Co-Creating Music Together, where new thought musicians from the area would come, and they would help us, those of us that came with just a poem, and this could be a good song, or I just have a melody in my heart. And from that, we would create original songs. And there is one song that I have heard in this community that came from one of those workshops. God is, I am, I create it, I pray, I live it. That one, remember the Five Principle one? Yeah, that came from one of those workshops. Isn't that fun? So Jennifer was called forth to express her radiant, magnificent voice because community called it forth and created the safe, beautiful space for it to express. One other story is that when Joy was born. When Joy was born, Reverend Eileen was there with Ogun and one other person in our community that was a healer, an energy worker. And while that experience was happening, the whole community held space. And Jennifer and Ogun blessed our community, and Reverend Eileen and I were talking about this, by allowing Joy, their daughter, to become such an integral part of all of our lives. They shared her with us. And as you know, if you've met Joy, she is an old soul, a wise, beautiful, radiant light in this world. And so because of their willingness to share her with community, we were all blessed. And then in return, the Holder family was blessed as they needed support in her care. Koinonia, the giving and sharing that's palpable, that's tangible, that spirit of generosity that flows from community. And I want you to know, dear ones, that this Unity of Gaithersburg community loved Jennifer up. You created a space for her to come in and express who she was as a minister. You loved her, you grew her, you taught her, you expanded her in beautiful ways. Please know that. Please know that your love anchored her through her journey. So let's take a deep breath. Your love is a beautiful thing, beloved community. For where 2 or 3 are gathered together, there I am in the midst of them. Folks, the I am. Nature is the truth and foundation of each of us and this community. The I am that we are in the midst of this situation is in the heart of us all. Let us move through this time, clearly knowing the gift this community has been to Jennifer and her family. Let us move through this time clearly knowing the gift this community is to each of us. Let us remember what's true that's in the midst of us. The heart of love. Let us express that love, especially through this time as we remember that we belong to each other. As we behold the truth of each other's wholeness and light and capacity for strength and peace and compassion, let us feel the fellowship and the joy of being in beloved community. And let us feel that tangible giving and sharing as we love each other, as we're the space for each other. And whether you are here with us for the first time, or you have been here for a short or long time, you belong here. You are part of the fabric of this community. You are loved. Welcome. So this week and beyond, let's traverse this time being gentle and compassionate with ourselves and each other as feelings arise that Jennifer's passing stirs in us. To see them for what they are. We can move through any kind of drama, anything that's stirring in you, just to see it for what it is, know, and just come in front of another community member and just say, please hold knowing with me. Please hold me. Let's hold together what's true. Because part of the community, a big part of community is being willing to ask and then receive support. Let's be that with each other. Let us remember and anchor in what's true. We are love, we are strength, we are wisdom, we are beloved community. Let's know that, let's claim it, let's live it right here and right now. Okay? Yes? Do we know it? Yes. Please turn to your neighbor and say, I'm so grateful you're here. Beautiful. All right, so let's take a deep breath. Let's take a deep breath and let's affirm the truth together. We walk life's journey together in love, peace, and joy. We know what's true. Yes, we do, and so it is. Bless you.